Before we begin this story, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. We love knowing where our Whispers of the Heart family is listening from. Mark Collins, the brilliant but beleaguered founder of Collins Corp., found himself at the precipice of ruin. His vast, luxurious penthouse apartment, usually a symbol of his towering success, now felt dim and suffocating, mirroring the profound despair that had enveloped him. He paced, the phone pressed to his ear, listening to the crushing confirmation that his tech empire was bleeding millions daily. The system failure was catastrophic, a ghost in the machine that stumped even his world-class engineers. As he hung up, tossing the phone onto a plush sofa, he ran a hand through his already disheveled hair, his gaze fixed on the glittering, mocking expanse of the New York City skyline. The weight of his failing empire was a physical ache. A soft click from the kitchen, imperceptible to him in his turmoil. Inside, Emma, his cleaning lady, meticulously wiped down gleaming countertops. Her simple, practical clothes were a stark contrast to the opulence, her movements quiet and efficient. As Mark's desperate voice carried through the open-plan apartment, she froze. Her hand paused mid-wipe. She heard snippets. Massive internal system failure, core servers malfunctioning, bleeding money, investors furious. While the technical terms were alien to her, the sheer despair in his voice was unmistakable. A deep empathy stirred within her, reminding her of her own silent struggles, the quiet desperation that often accompanied them. She resumed cleaning, but her ears were now acutely tuned to his words. This is it. This is how it ends. Everything I've built, gone. Her heart ached for him. She finished the kitchen and moved silently towards his expansive home office. The door was ajar. She saw his sophisticated computer setup, multiple monitors displaying complex lines of code, network diagrams, and endless, scrolling error messages. It looked like an alien language, yet something about it drew her in. She hesitated at the threshold, her small frame almost lost in the grand doorway. Her eyes darted from the intimidating screens to the quiet, empty hallway. A strange, inexplicable urge compelled her forward. She pushed the door open a little wider and stepped inside. She approached the desk, her footsteps barely audible on the plush carpet, her gaze fixed on the main monitor. Even without understanding the specifics, she noticed patterns, repetitions in the error codes, a certain logic in the chaos that sparked a flicker of recognition within her. It was an intuition, a gut feeling that this problem, despite its scale, might have a surprisingly simple root. Slowly she reached out a hand, hovering it over the keyboard. Her fingers twitched, as if yearning to dance across the keys. She took a deep breath. Then, with a resolve that surprised even herself, she sat down in the executive chair. It was too big for her, and she seemed almost swallowed by it. She adjusted the seat, her gaze still fixed on the screen. Just as her fingers were about to touch the keyboard, a voice, sharp and laced with suspicion, cut through the silence. "What are you doing?" She jumped, startled. She scrambled to her feet, her hands flying up in a defensive gesture. Her heart pounded in her chest. I just wanted to help." "I think I know how to fix it." Mark stood framed in the doorway, his eyes wide with a mixture of shock and anger. He saw her at his computer, his private domain, the place where his entire company's fate rested. The immediate conclusion that leaped to his mind was betrayal. "You were trying to steal something. Don't lie to me." "No. Please, Mr. Collins, trust me. I would never. Just let me look at the system. I heard you on the phone. I heard what happened." He scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping him. "Heard me? So you were eavesdropping? And you, a cleaning lady, think you can fix what my entire team of world-class engineers can't? This is absurd. Get out. Get out of my apartment and don't ever come back. You're fired." She stared at him, her face crumpling. The accusation stung, but the words, "You're fired," hit her like a physical blow. The money from this job wasn't just for her. It was her mother's lifeline. "Please, I need this job. My mother. She has cancer." His expression didn't soften. His mind was consumed by the crisis, by the betrayal he believed he just witnessed. He saw only a breach of trust, a potential security threat, not a desperate plea. "I don't care. You're out. Now." She turned, her shoulders slumping. She walked out of the office, past him, her head bowed. She gathered her cleaning supplies, her movements slow and heavy. The usual gentle smile was gone, replaced by a profound sadness. She glanced back at him once, a silent plea in her eyes, but he avoided her gaze. She walked out of his apartment, the heavy door closing behind her, with a definitive thud. He stood alone in the silence, the echo of his harsh words hanging in the air. He tried to dismiss her, to focus on the crumbling empire, but an uncomfortable feeling began to nag at him. She had never given him a reason to doubt her. She was always so quiet, so respectful. Why had she touched his computer? He shook his head, trying to dislodge the thought. There was no time for sentimentality. Days bled into weeks. Mark was slumped over his desk, head in his hands, screen still displaying endless error messages. His face was pale, unshaven. News headlines flashed across the screen. Tech giant on the brink. Collins Corp faces collapse. Investors fleeing. He was on the phone, looking increasingly desperate, trying to placate angry investors. The crisis deepened. Nothing worked. The best minds in the country had failed him. Sleep became a distant memory. Yet through the haze of stress and despair, her face, her tearful plea, kept resurfacing. His mind, against his will, returned to her. He remembered her quiet diligence, her gentle nature. He tried to rationalize her presence at his computer, but the suspicion he felt that night was slowly replaced by a growing flicker of doubt about his own judgment. Why did she say she could fix it? It was absurd, right? But what if... One night, he sat on his sofa, staring at his phone. He scrolled through his contacts, hesitating over her number. He took a deep breath, then pressed call. "Hello? Emma? It's Mark Collins." He waited, a long, agonizing pause. "Look, I'll let you clean again. Starting next week, but stay out of my personal things. Understand?" Her voice was soft, almost imperceptible on the other end. "Yes, Mr. Collins, thank you. I understand." He hung up, feeling a strange mix of relief and lingering embarrassment. He told himself it was just about getting the apartment cleaned, nothing more. A week later, she was back. She moved through the apartment with the same quiet efficiency, but there was a new, subtle difference in his perception. Working from home, he observed her from a distance. He saw how carefully she polished the antique furniture, how gently she handled the delicate porcelain figures. He noticed the slight tremor in her hands, the way she sometimes paused, a distant look in her eyes, a fleeting shadow of sadness crossing her features when she thought she was unobserved. He saw her differently now, not just as the cleaning lady, but as her. A person, a young woman carrying her own burdens. One evening, he was still at his desk, staring blankly at the screen. The company was teetering on the brink. He heard her tidying up in the living room. "You know, I haven't slept properly in weeks." She paused her work. She glanced at him. "I can imagine. It must be very difficult." He looked up, surprised she responded. "Difficult is an understatement. It's a nightmare. My entire life's work." He trailed off, unable to articulate the depth of his despair. She slowly approached the office doorway. "Perhaps you just haven't seen it yet." He looked at her, truly looked at her, for the first time without the lens of suspicion or professional distance. Her eyes were warm, compassionate. He found himself wanting to talk, to unburden himself. In the late nights that followed, their unspoken connection deepened. He'd make late-night coffee, and she'd finish up, her quiet presence a calming force. "You know, it's lonely here, even with all this space," he admitted once. "I understand. Sometimes the quietest places are the loudest," she replied. When the biggest investor pulled out, sending Mark into a frantic rage, she calmly told him, "Take a breath, Mr. Collins, just one deep breath." It didn't solve anything, but for a split second, his frantic energy lessened. He sat on his sofa, head in his hands, as she quietly put away her supplies. "You're not alone in this, Mr. Collins, even when it feels like it." She offered a small, comforting smile. He felt a warmth he hadn't felt in months. She didn't offer solutions, but she offered a presence, a quiet understanding. Little by little, she began calming him, reminding him what peace felt like, even in the midst of the storm. Weeks later. It was late. He was still at his company office, immersed in another fruitless attempt to find the server issue. His apartment was quiet, save for her gentle movements. She was cleaning the living room, her thoughts heavy. She thought of her mother, her fading strength, the mounting medical bills. This job was everything. And yet she kept seeing his face, the despair in his eyes. She felt an immense urge to help, to use the knowledge she carried within her, knowledge she never got to fully pursue. She walked towards his home office. The door was open. The screens glowed with the familiar, frustrating error messages. This time there was no hesitation. She walked in with a quiet determination. She sat down in the large executive chair, her small frame resolute. Her fingers, usually skilled at dusting and polishing, hovered over the keyboard. A flicker of doubt, a surge of adrenaline. What if she was wrong? What if she got fired again? But the image of her mother's tired smile and his haunted eyes pushed her forward. She took a deep breath. Her fingers landed on the keys, confident, almost instinctive. Her hands began to dance, moving with a fluid grace that suggested years of practice, not a cleaning lady's fleeting curiosity. She navigated through complex directories, entered commands, her eyes scanning lines of code with an intense focus. She knew exactly what she was looking for. She found it. A subtle, almost invisible line of code, a misplaced semicolon, a tiny, seemingly insignificant error that in a complex system could create a cascading failure. A digital domino effect. 10 minutes passed. The only sounds were the soft clicks of the keyboard and the whir of the computer. Then a sudden, powerful surge. The screens flickered. The endless error messages disappeared, replaced by a series of system diagnostics. Then, triumphantly, the company logo appeared. System rebooted. All systems operational. She sat back, her hands trembling. She did it. She actually did it. A wave of relief washed over her, followed by a surge of fear. What would he say? She quickly closed the windows, logged out, and stood up, pushing the chair back into its original position. She glanced around the office, making sure no trace of her presence remained, then quickly walked out. He was slumped over his desk at his company office, head in his hands. The phone rang. He answered, his voice thick with exhaustion. "Collins." A voice, frantic with excitement, burst through the receiver. Sir, you won't believe it. The system, it's stable. All systems are operational. The profits are already starting to come back." He jolted upright, his eyes wide. "What? What are you talking about? Who did this? How?" "We don't know, sir. We just checked the logs. The problem was solved. From your home computer." His blood ran cold. His home computer. One person. Only one person was there. He slammed the phone down and raced out of his office, a frantic urgency driving him. He burst into his apartment, breathless. He scanned the living room. She was sitting on the couch, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, looking small and vulnerable. Her shoulders were hunched, and her eyes were wide with apprehension. She looked like a child caught doing something she shouldn't. He walked towards her, his gaze intense. She flinched, her body tensing. I just wanted to help." I didn't mean to touch it again, but I knew what the issue was. I saw it that first time. A small error, a misplaced... She trailed off, her voice choked with fear and anticipation of his anger. He stopped in front of her. He didn't say anything. He just looked at her, truly seeing her for the first time. The quiet strength, the hidden brilliance. He saw the woman who, against all odds, saved everything. Slowly, deliberately, he reached out. Not to grab her, not to scold her. He pulled her gently to her feet and wrapped his arms around her, hugging her tightly. It was a hug of profound relief, of gratitude, of awe. Thank you. You saved everything. She, surprised by his reaction, slowly melted into the embrace, tears silently streaming down her face. Tears of relief, of disbelief, of a hope she hadn't dared to dream. Later that night, the mood was entirely different. The apartment, once a place of despair, now hummed with quiet joy. She, surprisingly, was in the kitchen, apron tied around her waist, preparing a simple but fragrant dinner. He watched her, a genuine smile on his face, the lines of stress finally easing from his features. They sat at the dining table, a bottle of wine between them. They ate, they talked, they laughed. For the first time in a long time, he felt truly alive. So, Emma, the burning question. How did you know what to do? My top engineers, with all their degrees and experience, couldn't figure it out. She lowered her eyes, a faint blush spreading across her cheeks. I wanted to study technology, computer science. I was accepted into a really good university. It was my dream. He leaned forward, intrigued. What happened? Why didn't you go? My mom got sick. Her cancer. It got worse right before I was supposed to start. The treatments, they were so expensive. I had to choose. School or her life. I chose her. I dropped out and started working any job I could find to pay the bills. His smile faded, replaced by a profound understanding and respect. He reached across the table and gently took her hand. You chose right, Emma. You chose absolutely right. He held her hand, a comfortable silence settling between them. A connection, deeper than mere gratitude, began to bloom. The next morning, the atmosphere at Collins Corp was buzzing. Employees were smiling, celebrating. The crisis was over. He walked into the bustling main office, a confident stride back in his step. But he wasn't alone. Beside him, walking with a newfound quiet dignity, was she. She looked a little overwhelmed by the sheer size and energy of the place. He stopped in the central atrium, the heart of the company. A hush fell over the employees. Good morning, everyone. As you know, we've been through a difficult few weeks, a crisis that threatened to bring us all down. But thanks to someone extraordinary, we're not just back on our feet, we're stronger than ever. He turned, a proud smile on his face, and gestured to her. I want to introduce you all to the woman who saved us. This is Emma. She's not just the reason our systems are back online. She's the reason we have a future. A ripple of murmurs, then growing applause. She shifted uncomfortably, overwhelmed, but a genuine smile broke through. Emma has accepted a new position with the company. A real position, where her genius can flourish. She'll be working directly with our engineering team, bringing her unique insights to the forefront. More applause, louder this time. Her eyes welled up with tears, tears of joy and disbelief. And that's not all. Emma made a difficult choice, sacrificing her own dreams for her family. It's time for that sacrifice to be repaid. I am personally funding her return to university. She will finish what she started. She gasped, covering her mouth with her hand, tears now freely flowing. She looked at him, her heart overflowing with gratitude. He simply smiled, a look of profound respect and affection in his eyes. Their love blossomed. She, now dressed in smart business casual, was at a desk in the engineering department, working intently. He occasionally walked by, pausing to exchange a quiet smile or a few whispered words. Their interactions were professional, yet a subtle warmth emanated between them. She was seen walking on a bustling university campus, carrying books, a determined, happy expression. They were having dinner, sometimes at a fancy restaurant, sometimes a quiet, intimate meal at his penthouse or even her modest apartment. Their conversations were deeper now, sharing dreams, fears, and laughter. Their hands occasionally brushed, a lingering touch. The spark was undeniable. She was seen explaining a complex technical concept to a group of engineers, including him. She spoke with newfound confidence, her intellect shining. He watched her, a look of immense pride on his face. Their bond deepened through shared work and quiet moments. The respect was mutual, the admiration clear. And beneath it all, quietly, steadily, love began to bloom. At a grand ballroom, elegantly decorated, hundreds of people in formal wear mingled. This was a celebration, a major company event. But tonight, it was in honor of her. Mark, looking dashing in a tuxedo, stood by the stage, his gaze fixed on her. She looked stunning in a beautiful, elegant dress, but her hands were clasped tightly, a nervous tremor visible. He walked over to her, taking her trembling hands in his. "You'll be amazing. Just speak from the heart. They all want to hear your story." "I'm so scared, Mark. What if I mess it up?" Squeezing her hands, he reassured her. "You won't. You've faced bigger challenges than this, Emma. You saved my company. You saved me. This is nothing." He gave her a reassuring smile, his eyes full of love and admiration. He leaned in close. "I'll be right here, watching you, always." He held her hand for another moment, a silent promise in his touch, then gently guided her towards the steps leading to the stage. She walked up the few steps, her legs feeling like jelly. She reached the podium, the spotlight hitting her. The room, once buzzing with noise, fell into a hushed silence. All eyes were on her. She took a deep breath, clutching the sides of the podium. "Good evening, everyone. I never imagined I'd be standing here. A few months ago, I was just trying to make ends meet. My life was about surviving, one day at a time. Then a crisis happened. A crisis that brought me face to face with him." She glanced at him, who was standing near the stage, his eyes fixed on her, a soft, encouraging smile on his face. He took a chance on me, when no one else would have. When I made a mistake, he gave me a second chance. He saw something in me that I had almost forgotten existed. He believed in me, and because of him, I'm not just standing here. I'm building a future, not just for myself, but for my mother, and for this incredible company. Her voice trembled with emotion. "I want to thank him for his courage, for his trust, for his unwavering belief. He showed me that true strength isn't just about power or wealth, but about compassion and believing in the potential of others." Tears welled up in her eyes, but she smiled through them. The entire room was silent, captivated by her genuine emotion. When she finished, the room erupted. A standing ovation. Thunderous applause. She smiled through her tears, overwhelmed, and searched for him. But he was no longer where he was. Her smile faltered slightly. Where did he go? Suddenly, the lights dimmed. The applause died down as a single, powerful spotlight cut through the darkness, illuminating the very center of the room. There, standing in the spotlight, was he. He was no longer in a tuxedo jacket, but holding a small velvet box in his hand. A collective gasp rippled through the room. He began to walk towards her, slowly, deliberately, the spotlight following him. His eyes were fixed solely on her, a profound love shining in them. "Emma, I thought I had everything. Success, wealth, a company that was the envy of many. But it was all just empty. Until I met you." He reached her, standing directly in front of the stage. He looked up at her, his eyes shining. "You saved my company. You brought it back from the brink when no one else could. But more than that, Emma, you saved me. You brought back the part of me I thought I'd lost forever. You reminded me what it felt like to hope, to trust, to love. He knelt down on one knee, opening the small velvet box to reveal a sparkling diamond ring. Emma, will you marry me? The room exploded. Cheers, gasps, and joyous applause erupted. She clapped her hands over her mouth, tears streaming down her face, a radiant smile breaking through. She nodded vigorously, unable to speak, through laughter, through tears. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. He stood, a triumphant grin on his face. He took the ring and gently slid it onto her finger. The crowd roared its approval. He pulled her into a passionate embrace, lifting her off her feet, spinning her around as the applause continued to rain down. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe. Here at Whispers of the Heart, we share true love, second chances, and unforgettable moments, one story at a time. Leave us a comment, let us know what you felt, and don't forget to share this with someone who still believes in love, because sometimes a simple story is all it takes to remind us that the heart still whispers, no matter our age.